Hello my friends, this is Dr. Jimmy again. This is Sunday, the 2nd day of July. What fun! Ha 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 ha. Yes. Let me show you my t-shirt. You always want to see it for some reason. I really like this one. This is the People Under the Stairs. Let me bring this up. People Under the Stairs t-shirt for that wonderful horror movie by Wes Craven, which was made into a maze at the event of Halloween Horror Nights 2, as it's sometimes called, back in 1992, came back the following year, and they did a third version many years later in 2006 for Halloween Horror Nights 16. It can be said to be the first IP haunted house at Universal's Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. You can actually say that, I think, and get away with it. So they've had such from the very beginning, pretty much. Alrighty then. So this video, I want to talk about some recent information, some new official announcements about upcoming Horror Nights events that have occurred recently. I hadn't had a chance to talk about it for a bit. So let's get into it. First, a couple of weeks ago, we finally got the second official announcement of a haunted house for Halloween Horror Nights in Hollywood. Yes, they officially announced The Shining, but they never got around to officially announcing American Horror Story. Now, we knew American Horror Story was a haunted house or maze there because Murdy had confirmed it rather nonchalantly sometime before at that Horrorpalooza thing that was going on way back when. What month was that? A couple of months ago at least. And so that was already known it would be an American Horror Story maze in Hollywood, but he didn't go into any detail about it, and people were wondering because there was some question on what that maze would be like. We knew the haunted house in Orlando would feature the 3 seasons of American Horror Story that had not been used previously in the past event. We knew it would have Asylum, Coven, and Roanoke. But the question was, would the maze in Hollywood be the same? And there was some question, because that lad Justin I've talked about before, who has claimed to have gotten leaked information about the event in Hollywood and even the event in Orlando, was convinced that the maze in Hollywood would only represent the 6th season Roanoke that had aired, of course, last autumn. And so he'd been saying that for quite some time. And so some people asked Murdy on Twitter, oh, will it be the same 3 seasons as Orlando or just something else? And his reply was, that's a good question. Doesn't answer anything. It's carny, that Murdy. So, the announcement finally came. Even though we knew it had already been confirmed, Murdy had actually said they're doing the maze. He even said that the code name was Lemonade and why he had picked it, because of the way Beyonce had dropped the album all at once and the way that we didn't find out what the season of American Horror Story was. They teased all through the summer but didn't say what the show was going to be, and suddenly, just before it aired, the night it began airing, you found out it was about Roanoke. And that's what that was, in a similar way that they dropped the season of American Horror Story. And that's why he chose Lemonade as his code name. So he'd even revealed that to us, but we didn't know the details because there'd been no official announcement on the websites or any of the marketing or publicity. And Murdy kept saying they'll get to that, they'll get to that. And they finally did, and they got to it just recently, a couple of weeks ago. There it was. And it is American Horror Story, and Justin was right. It's Roanoke, just Roanoke. The maze in Hollywood will only be American Horror Story Roanoke. which means they're going to have more room to cover that season than they do in Orlando. So there'll be a full house all about Roanoke. There might be more detail. So their Roanoke could be bigger than our Roanoke, because our Roanoke is only going to be a third of a house. So you might see more stuff in that maze than you will see in the Roanoke section of the house in Orlando. All very well and good. But it gives more credence to Justin's leaked lists for Hollywood and Orlando. So far he's been correct. Shining, both places. American Horror Story, both places. But the variation, the differences between the two that he had stressed. Does that mean everything else that he has been saying will prove to be correct? Maybe not. We'll have to see. There's been all sorts of rumors going around, and he's said a few things that have he's already found out weren't true, and he's had to change it a couple of times. 2 or 3 times he's changed what he originally said about Orlando especially. So we'll see how much is accurate and how much is not. Check my notes. This time I remembered to bring notes. Okay, but that wasn't all that Murdy revealed on that day, because he had a Q&A session on Twitter, and there were all sorts of questions, and he usually is carny and evasive, but he answered a few that gave some rather interesting revelations. He confirmed, for example, that all the scare zones in Hollywood are original this year. They're not going to have any IP scare zones like The Purge last year. Every one of the scare zones will be original, and apparently they're not going to include the clowns this year, so there'll be new scare zones, perhaps completely new, but definitely original scare zones. So that's good. That's where original content will be in Hollywood this year. However, the Terror Tram is IP. Also, apparently Hollywood Harry will not be coming back this year, as some people had hoped. The IP, however, will be in the Terror Tram. What IP, we don't know. And indeed, according to Justin, it's something like Titans of Terror. It might be Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, Michael Myers, etc. But that has not been confirmed. What the Terror Tram will be, we still don't really know, but it will be IP. But both of those statements, original zones and a Terror Tram IP, does go along with what Justin's been saying also. So he may be more right than we thought. We'll find out. But there's a couple other points. A big one. When he was talking about code names, and people brought up a code name, The Big Chill. Remember, he had a bunch of code names besides Lemonade and Charles, which were American Horror Story and The Shining, respectively. There's one called Writer's Block, and there's one called The Big Chill, and a couple others. I think maybe that was it. But The Big Chill, and he told us that references a song on a soundtrack album for The Big Chill, the motion picture. There's been a number of different versions of the soundtrack album, some which contain music that wasn't even in the film. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint what song he means. A whiter shade of pale, I heard it on the grapevine, I don't know. One of the theories is Time and the Season, which was featured in a movie called The Conjuring, which is a rumor that Justin has had on his list. Well, he said The Big Chill has been replaced with a different IP. And what that new IP is, I have no idea. What the old one is, I have no idea. But if Justin was right and it was The Conjuring, that also fits the rumor which has been going around that The Conjuring couldn't be done because of a lawsuit that's currently pending, and therefore they couldn't do The Conjuring there on either coast. And Justin has come up with a notion about what they might replace it with in Hollywood and in Orlando. and a couple of different, he's had 2 or 3 different scenarios that have changed as he supposedly hears more information. So something, but this does confirm that one IP, Haunted Maze in Hollywood, was dropped for reasons that Murdy didn't elaborate, and was replaced with something else. So that was news, which does seem to also fit Justin's scenario to some degree. And let's see, but he also said, and this was interesting, that when someone asked him if there would be any other television-themed haunted mazes besides American Horror Story, the answer was yes. He didn't say how many. Obviously, if he means The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead is a permanent attraction and will likely be open for horror nights. But I don't think that's what he meant, and the way it was said implies another one of the new mazes will be also a television program. Of course, this too sort of fits Justin's idea that there will be an Ash versus Evil Dead maze, which he has said, although he says the maze itself will actually be more like Evil Dead 2, and they'll just use the name of the TV series, while the interior of the maze, and this is also true for Orlando, will be the same, it'll be Evil Dead 2. Of course, that's very strange. Why would you call it by the name of the TV program and then have it based on the movie? That's a little odd. That's like having a Fargo maze and not have any characters from all the television series Fargo, but just from the original film. That would be disingenuous, since they're quite different in many ways. I don't know. I'm not certain. And I don't even know if any of these things are true. But that does seem to fit what Justin had been saying before as well. Okay. But then he said something else which was the most shocking of all. When he asked how many mazes there would be, and before it seemed pretty clear he meant there'd be 6 haunted mazes, and then of course The Walking Dead as a separate thing. 6 mazes. But when he was asked that on that night, he said he didn't know. He said at that point he was not certain the exact number of mazes. This may have changed since then, but if that's what he said that night, that means at that point something was still in flux. Some other IP was in trouble and perhaps shaky and may not be done, and they may not have time to replace it. That's the implication I get from I don't know how many mazes there are going to be. Unless he wants to add another one, but that's kind of difficult at this point when they're already starting construction, mind you. So how many mazes? Now, since that time, I don't think he's elaborated on that. At least I haven't seen the tweets yet saying anything like that, but it is quite intriguing to me that a couple of weeks ago, Murdy said he wasn't sure exactly how many mazes would be in Hollywood. And that suggests to me that at least one other IP may be having some difficult problems right now, and that's interesting as well. So we shall see. 5 or 6? That's the question. And we don't know yet until we get more information. The information is coming out so slowly. And yes, we got stuff earlier than ever before this year. Stuff in March. But this time last year, for Orlando, we had 3 official houses already announced. Last year, this time, we had The Exorcist, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Walking Dead had all been announced, and we had the Icon Chance. All of those at this point last year. This year, we've only got 2 announced haunted houses, which are Shining and American Horror Story, and we still don't know exactly if there is even going to be an Icon. And if there is, they certainly haven't said. So we're not quite where we were last year in the number of announcements, unless the third house is announced damn quickly. So we'll see. But Orlando has had some interesting developments as well. A while back, that sort of Grim Reaper image with the roses and the water on the website, which I mentioned before, it started to change, and it went from the legend that read, "Your time will or all our times will come soon." Remember, I did the whole cowbell thing in a previous video. It changed, and it now says, "Your time is deadly soon," something like that. Soon, oh my! Your time is your time is deadly close. Or your time is something like that. So, deadly close. All of a sudden, from soon to deadly close. How close is deadly close? We weren't certain. It wasn't right away. It took a couple more days, a few more days, and finally something happened. Something happened. Yes. It started with some tweets, and then we looked at Facebook, you looked at the website. There was a huge update. Now there was a video. In the video, we see it does it in reverse order. There's a man and he's being the skeleton is grabbing him, then he emerges from the water and the roses, and he seems to come to life. It goes through an archway. He's in his living room. He's got an invitation, and he's reading it. And then it goes back into forward motion, and he gets sucked back in, which is what actually happened. And we're told that your soul is requested. Yes, give up your soul and sacrifice your soul for Halloween Horror Nights. What's that mean? And on the website it says you to sacrifice your soul, it is requested. And there's a place to click with your mouse. You can click, and then you find you can fill out, your name, your email, your address, because they're going to send you stuff in the post apparently, as well as emails. All this stuff goes in, and once you do that, now you're a part of the elite soul collectors, and your soul is now given to them. So they have your soul, but you're supposed to help get other souls. And why am I thinking of the Blues Brothers? Are they the icons, the Blues Brothers? I'm a soul man. Do, 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 do. Or maybe it's Aphex Twin, Come to daddy. I want your soul. I will eat your soul. Come to daddy. Yes. All these things go through my mind thinking about soul collecting. But now I did that, and of course now I'm one of the elite soul collectors. So let's see, let's get your soul. Have you ever used it? Of course not. All right, but it's clean. You haven't got it dirty. All right, let's see. So I like to order a fillet of soul, please. Yes, that's right. Soul food, yes. Freddy Krueger likes that, remember? Pulls up his... I'm not going to pull up mine. It's ugly. It's worse than his chest. And he's got the soul pizza and little meatballs and little faces going, help me, Freddy got me. And he's inside his body. The souls of children give me strength. Yes. Yes. Yes, in life Freddy was a devious pedophile, but in death, it's like, don't worry, parents. It's not the bodies of your children I'm after. It's their souls I want to feast on. Yes, good old Freddy. But we probably won't see him this year either. So who are collecting souls? Are they just Grim Reapers? Are they harvesters of souls? It sounds like a scare zone I once went to. Yeah, that's interesting. All of it might connect to the event, I don't know. Is there an icon? Some sort of soul harvesting icon? Could it be the iniquitous? Could it be something similar? I don't know if there even be an icon. But once you join the soul collectors on the website, you're encouraged then to go and do likewise and try to corrupt other of your friends and loved ones and get them to hand over their souls. And how do you do that? You share a link on Facebook and on Twitter, and you do that and you get your first reward. Yes, they bribe you to get souls for them, sort of like Amway. Or maybe, or more like a religious cult like Scientology. Oh my, now Ted Cruz will come after me and call me a squirrel. Anyway, no, Ted Cruz, no, not Ted Cruz. He's a different sort of Lucifer. I'm talking about Tom Cruise, of course. Silly Jimmy. Easy mistake, they're both pathological. But one is the Zodiac Killer, the other isn't. The other's just demented. Looks good for a man my age. Actually, he's older than me. Fucking Tom Cruise, older than me. How does he look that good? Plastic surgery and hair dye. Yes. What was it in that movie with Truman Capote? He was supposed to be 150 years old, and he said, "How do you keep your looks?" He said, "I never eat fried food, and I wear lots and lots of makeup." Okay, let's see, where was I? Yes, it's one of those sort of days. I'm going all over the place. Yes, but I got my first reward, and that's wallpaper. Yes, get this lovely high-resolution wallpaper of that whole catacomb thing with all the bones there and the little what is it, logo for Halloween Horror Nights 27, all of that. You can get a big one that covers your whole computer screen, one that's more of a part of it, and one that will be good for your phony phone. Yes, your lovely phone. Then you can have that shape as well. So I've got the wallpapers, although I haven't put it on my phone, because my wallpaper, excuse me, my wallpaper is my lovely cat Lenny, and I'm going to keep Lenny as the wallpaper because as much as I love Horror Nights, I have to live with this cat. If I change it out, the cat's going to get me. So that's why. Alright, so, but I do have one in case I ever want to use it. I've got it. Wallpaper was the first reward. And there is a place on there, a site which has got all these boxes with locks on them, and obviously they're going to open up at some point, and at some point you can be told, go back, and you know, after a tweet or something, you can go back and unlock the box and there'll be something new there. And of course, this is basically this year's Jack's Maniacs. Of course that's what it is, this year's Jack's Maniacs. And what's going to happen, I'm pretty sure of this, what's going to happen is that you're going to get tweet-ups during the event and have these big social media gatherings and maybe one of those nice parties at the end of it all where you get food and get to hang out with, well, you wouldn't hang out with an icon if you don't have one, do you? Do we have an icon? That's a big question. That's a big question. And let's see. That's the thing. Because they were asking that on the Twitter with Horror Nights ORL, and the corny man who is doing it now since Mike left, he's saying things like, "Why are you asking that question?" And even, "What makes you think there's going to be an icon?" And it's like, but, and then he says, ambiguous tweet, boy, 23, 24, 27. And people are like, what does that mean? Oh my God, I have to be Sherlock Holmes now and try to figure that out. And a smart gentleman, a certain lawyer named George, pointed out what he's saying is there's not going to be an icon, or at least that's what he wants you to think. Because 23, Halloween Horror Nights 23, and Halloween Horror Nights 24 did not have icons. 25 did, 26 did, and now we have 27. So you say 23, 24, 27, you're skipping over 25 and 26. So what do these 3 years have in common? No icon. Is that what he's saying? That's what George thought. And the immediate response to his tweet that I said, where he said, what he's trying to say is, there's not going to be an icon, or that's what he wants you to think, then the Horror Nights ORO official tweet responded with ding 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 ding, like you got a winner, ding ding. Or maybe he's just being a ding ding. Yes, you ding dong, what you're doing. No, because that can be ambiguous. He could be saying George is right, there's no icon, or George is right, I want you to think there's no icon. Ooh, what is that, baby? Ooh, ooh, ooh. So it's ambiguous, but all signs currently seem to point to the distinct possibility we might not get an icon. And if we don't, then I'm afraid Justin was really wrong, because he's been saying all along that we're having an icon. He first thought it was going to be Cindy, all grown up as a fortune teller. Turns out that was a bogus story planted by a malicious person who wanted to fuck with Justin. And he figured that out, and he's been saying that more recently. That's not true. That was disinformation. Deliberate disinformation. Well, but he still thinks there's going to be an icon, and people have wondered about Albert Kane, or La Llorona, or Lady Death, or a new mysterious icon, maybe a Grim Reaper of some sort, like the guy in that TV commercial, the one for the television. You know, they have a satellite dish and it goes out when it rains. I don't even remember what, is it DirecTV or something that, and so they got like a mad scientist and a mummy and a wolfman on a train, but the Grim Reaper is there. You know, he says he's out harvesting souls. So maybe it's somebody like that, or somebody like, you know, our buddy, the Reaper from Bill and Ted. Maybe I sunk your battleship. I don't know. Maybe, or maybe some sort of new creation, or an iniquitous, or who knows. But so far, we don't know for sure if we're even getting one. But Justin thought there was going to be a specific scare zone. I mean, he's got scare zones all mapped out already. There's going to be a trick-or-treat scare zone, probably in Central Park. There's going to be a Festival of the Dead, maybe Hollywood Boulevard. There's going to be sci-fi, 50s sci-fi type scare zone in San Francisco, and a Purge scare zone in New York. And the Plaza of the Stars will be the Icon's own scare zone. That's what he was certain of, because he had deduced some sort of thing based on things that he had heard here and there, apparently, and he had figured this out for himself. But the question is he accurate? And if he's been saying there's an icon and it turns out there isn't, well, that's definitely not accurate. So this may be the place where he was wrong. We'll see. So will there or won't there? Only time will tell. But remember, this time last year we knew all about Chance being the icon of the event for quite some time. We knew about it, in fact, on June 9th of 2016, and that's a week from today. That'll be a month ago. I mean, in other words, the anniversary date was almost a month ago, so we're kind of behind quite a bit. If they're going to announce an icon, they haven't even come close. And how much is this soul collecting thing going to be a theme for the event, and how much of it will only be a social media thing? That also remains to be seen. Soul collectors. They've had body collectors before. So if the soul collectors and the body collectors work together, one can get your body and the other can get your soul. How useful. Anyway, that's what I have for catching up with all that's been revealed so far, including Hollywood and Orlando. And you never know when the next announcement may come out, because it's summer now. That's right, we got past the solstice last month. It's been summer for a while now, for a couple of weeks, and that's really good, because spring is a great time of year. That's the time of year when you get teased. Summer's the time of year when revelations are made. Before this season is over, we'll find out everything about Horror Nights. In fact, there's a countdown. There's a countdown going on the website. I think it's at 32 days or something now. Sometime in August, that countdown will be over and you won't be able to become a soul collector. So, will there be a full reveal by that date? Probably. Sometime between now and then, over the next several weeks, we'll start to find out about more haunted houses and perhaps eventually scare zones. And then eventually, a little more than a month from now, we'll probably get everything, because we have to prepare for September, of course. Remember, Halloween Horror Night starts as early as September 15th this year. There's only 75 days before the event begins. Ooh, it's close. So with that, I shall bid you ta-ta for now, because a little bit later I might want to make another video. I still have to finish my Horror Nights history for Halloween Horror Nights 25. If I can wrap that up in 26 before the 15th would be really good. So until later, enjoy the rest of your life.